right, we have made it. We are in week 6 and we are going to be covering sales and marketing today. So we're going to be talking about your go-to-market strategy and how to sell your product or service. All right, we are going to cover a variety of topics related to sales and marketing today. So we'll just briefly touch on each of these. Each of these could be a session in and of themselves. So we're going to just do a high-level overview of each of these. So we're going to talk about brand and how to establish who you are and who you want to be. We will talk about marketing strategy and kind of your go-to-market plan. We'll talk a little bit about social media and your website and how to use those in your marketing plan. We're going to discuss email marketing and where that is a good fit for you. Non-digital marketing. It is becoming less and less common to focus on non-digital marketing, but there are still tools and events and some different methods that you might want to use that are not digital currently. And then we're going to talk about your sales process. So developing a sales process and implementing a sales process and determining how you're going to get a customer from being a potential customer through the process to buying your product or service. All right, so let's talk about brand. Brand is who you are. It is not just colors and logos, although that plays into it. Your brand is really how you want to present yourself to your customer base. Who do you want to say that you are to the world? And when you're thinking about your brand, you want to think about, how is it that you're going to define yourself? Are you going to be sophisticated? Are you going to be fresh and fun? Are you going to be something different, out of the ordinary? Do you want to be cost effective or do you want to be high end? What is it that makes your brand unique? And there isn't one answer that is correct, right? Walmart is the cost effective brand. That is how they have built their brand. They are a multi-billion-dollar company and they are built off of low prices. On the flip side, you've got, your Neiman Marcus, who is built off of being high end. So it is not that one is better than the other or that one has a more profitable business than the other because of what they chose for their brand. It's just that they chose that as their brand, and then that is how they built around that brand to build their business. So think about who you want to be to the world. Then once you've decided, what your brand is, what you stand for, who you want to be, then you're going to get to the fun part. You're going to set the tone. If you've decided that you're fresh and fun, then you probably don't want to choose the color brown. If you are, going to be very sophisticated, then you don't probably want to choose a font that's a bubbly font and that is looked at as more creative. You want to think about what colors, what fonts, what images go along with the brand that you've chosen. Once you have come up with your colors, you've thought about your fonts, you've looked into the images that make the most sense for you, then you will get with someone that is technically an expert in this area or that has that creative side to them to develop your actual logo. Your logo should be developed with your brand in mind. You should think about how you want to create your logo based on the colors that you've chosen, the fonts that you've chosen, and really who you are representing yourself as to your customer base. And then speak it. So you want to think, what's your voice? Again, if you're going to be the technical expert, then when you are presenting yourself, whether it be in social media, whether it be in print advertising, if you're speaking, you need to be sure that when you are presenting your brand to the market, that you are sharing your technical expertise. You can't necessarily go out and share jokes or be funny and then try to make that align with your brand when you're trying to be the technical expert and be that sophisticated brand. So you've got to think about what it is that you've decided your brand is going to be built on, and then you've got to build any sort of presentation in your voice around that brand. It's okay to be funny and to tell jokes as part of your brand if that aligns with the brand that you've selected. But if you are, choosing to be a more sophisticated brand or you're going to be the technical expert, that's when it wouldn't make sense. So there's no right or wrong answer for the brand that you choose, but once you've chosen that brand, you need to make sure that you speak it through all mediums of your marketing and your advertising. And then live it. Always stay on brand. Consistency is key. It's really where you see the differentiators between a really well-known brand and a really successful brand versus a brand that you just forget about or that you don't think about much. Is everything you see consistent with that brand? They are living their brand. When you see a lot of inconsistency, or you don't, you see that someone's trying to be funny and cool, but they've built their brand on being sophisticated and refined, you just start to see those inconsistencies, and then you either decide that they aren't staying true to their brand, you don't really know what they stand for, or you just honestly forget about them because you're not used to seeing that consistency. You're not getting that repetitiveness with their brand. So make sure that as you develop your brand, as you're thinking about who you want to be, that it is something that you can stick with and that you can live and that you can live out throughout the life of your business. All right, so let's talk about your marketing strategy. Your marketing strategy needs to align with your brand. You should be developing your marketing strategy alongside the development of your brand. And the reason being is that they need to align. Your brand is who you are, and your strategy is how you're going to sell. It's also who you are. How will you compete? How are you planning to go to market? So you need to think about how you will compete to decide how that fits in with your brand and how you're going to present yourself to the market. Are you going to compete on price? Are you going to compete on quality? Do you plan to compete with convenience? These three are options for your unique selling proposition. These are options that you can compete on, but you can't compete on all three. You are going to be, if you're the McDonald's of the world, you're competing on price and convenience. You're saying, hey, we're going to be convenient, we're going to be quick, and we're going to be the low cost option. But quality could, depending on your opinion, you're not getting a high dollar steakhouse meal here at McDonald's. You're getting a very inexpensive meal, and you're getting it really quickly, right? So you can compete on two of these three, but it is very difficult to compete on all three. If I want to compete on quality, then I'm likely not going to also be competing on price, right? I might be saying, hey, I am the high quality provider in this area, and I am going to provide high touch service, which might align with convenience. I am going to give you white glove service. However, for that white glove service, you're going to pay more. I'm not going to compete on price. So you need to think about your brand, your product, your service, your company, and how do you want to compete? What is your unique selling proposition? And then based on that, you need to think about your go-to-market strategy. So once you've decided that this is who we are and this is how we're going to compete, how are you planning to go to market? How are you planning to get customers? Are you planning to have salespeople with boots on the ground, knocking on doors, making calls? Are they going to be out in the market as a sales force where you have that personal representation out in the market? Are you going to be doing mostly lead generation online? So your goal is to drive people to your website. Through the website, they can purchase. You're not going to have individual salespeople that are going to be out there selling for you and going to look for those potential clients and developing relationships and building out that long sales process. Again, it depends on what you're selling, and it depends on your marketing strategy, what makes sense for you. So think about how you plan to go to market, how you plan to sell your product, and then you're going to build the rest of your marketing strategy around there. Then you want to build your marketing plan. So, your marketing strategy is the who are we, what's our unique selling proposition, how are we competing, and then what's our go-to-market strategy? Do we have a sales force? Do we not have an individual salespeople? Do we just have order takers that are, we're driving all of these leads to our website or to our, customer service center? What's our go-to-market strategy? Then you want to build your marketing plan around that. If your go-to-market strategy is to have a bunch of salespeople and a sales force out in the market, then your marketing plan needs to be developing collateral and information that they can use to go out and present to their potential clients. If your strategy is to bring in a bunch of leads from your website and drive them to your customer service center to take orders, then you need to be out working on your sales funnels, your digital sales funnels, your social media channels, your advertising there, to be able to drive those leads to your website and or to your customer service center. So your marketing plan needs to align with your go-to-market strategy. All right, so regardless of your go-to-market strategy and how you develop your marketing plan, most likely your marketing plan will include some sort of social component. Social media has become much more common over the last few years and has almost become a pay-to-play type platform that you have to use in marketing, just like a website used to be when they first came out. So you need to decide how you're going to use social media, how much you're going to use social media, and essentially how you're going to present yourself on social media. First thing to think about is which platforms you're going to use. You know, there are plenty of platforms out there. There's more and more every day. You need to think about which platforms you're going to spend time on. You can't be effective if you are trying to be using every single platform in the exact same way with the same effort. You need to think about which platforms make the most sense for you, how much time you're going to spend on them, and how you're going to use them. You also want to think about what type of content you're going to provide. Are you going to provide, and it's likely not going to be, by the way, the same type of content across each platform. So are you going to provide technical content, and are you going to write lots of articles and help share technical content based on your subject matter and what you provide? Are you going to provide fun content and entertaining content? You know, what aligns with your brand, goes along with your brand for content that you can provide, and how are you going to use each platform that you've decided to be present on? How are you going to use those platforms to provide that content? Think about how often you're going to post. The one thing with social media that's really important is to make sure you're consistent. It's not necessarily that you have to post every single minute of every single day. It's that you want to make sure that you're showing up consistently. So if you think that it's reasonable for you to post once a week, then post once a week. Don't post 5 times in 1 week and then you don't show up for 6 months. Make sure that you have consistency built around your social media, regardless of what that consistency is. Start off with what's reasonable and manageable for you, and then build from there. Just make sure that it's consistent. And then you have opportunities to schedule out your posts. So you can, a lot of people think that with social media that they have to constantly be on their Facebook page or on Instagram. And that's not the case. You can use tools, either consolidated tools, like single use tools that will spread across all platforms, or in each platform, there are options and opportunities for you to schedule posts. So if you want to implement a social media management tool, you can look at doing that, which allows you to go out, let's say once a week, and determine all your posts that you're planning to make for the week and get those all scheduled. They don't all post on Monday, they post throughout the week as you schedule them. Or you can go into each individual platform. You can go into Facebook and schedule out your posts. You can go into Instagram and schedule out your posts. So think about implementing something like that to help you stay consistent. If you can determine that, hey, I can spend an hour a week on my social media, but I want to post more than once a week, you can go and, Monday morning or Friday afternoon, whatever makes sense for you, you can set aside time and go out and schedule all of your posts so that you are staying consistent and that you're getting those scheduled. And it'll just help you to manage that without having to be active on your social media all the time. All right, so your website is a key piece of your marketing toolkit. You need to make sure that you have a good, solid website that's an online storefront for your company. Even if you really focus more of your efforts and you're updating and you're more consistent on your social channels, you need to make sure that your website is there and that it's getting updated regularly. Make sure that you don't just focus on the design. Everyone loves a pretty website. They want to go to a pretty website. They love the visually appealing websites, but it's more important that your website tell the story than it is that your website look pretty. You need to make sure that you are telling the story, and you need to make sure that you are telling the story about your customer, not about you. Your website should tell your customer how you are going to solve their problem. You need to talk, when you talk about you should be talking about not how great you are, not how awesome your team is, but you should be talking about how you solve the problem that your customer has. Make your customer the hero in the story. Make them feel like, wow, if I call this company, if I engage with this company, I'm a hero. I just saved the day. You want to tell that kind of story to your customer. You don't want to just talk about you. You want to talk about your customer and talk about how you solve their problem. And then make sure that on your website you have a call to action. You want to make sure that there is somewhere on your website that your customer sees that, hey, if I click this button, I am going to save the day. If I call this number, I am going to solve my problem. You want to make sure that it's very easy to see how they engage with you, how they contact you, how they save the day. Make sure you have a call to action on your website. All right, let's talk about email marketing. Email marketing is a very effective form of marketing. Even if you feel like you get way too much spam email now and it feels like it's becoming just saturated and you're getting way too much information via email that you never read it, it is still a very effective marketing tool. There are reasons why you're getting so much spam email and that you haven't unsubscribed, because you still feel like maybe something's going to come through your inbox that you are going to be interested, or that you're going to want to see that discount, or you're going to want to know about that event before someone else. So email marketing is something that you should definitely consider implementing in your business. Your CRM should have a platform for email marketing. Many of them do. Not all of them will have their own platform for email marketing. You may need to integrate with another tool for that, but that's something to consider as you're considering CRM tools for your business. It's nice if it has that functionality built in for email marketing, so that you can have your sales funnels tied directly to your CRM, and then you can set up your email campaigns directly there. You want to build out a campaign for new subscribers as kind of your first attempt at email marketing, or your first step to email marketing. So if you've got someone that comes to your website and they fill out a form to learn more, or you provide them with a free handout or free information in order to capture their email address, then you want to build out a campaign for those initial new subscribers to receive as soon as they have signed up. An email campaign is essentially a series of emails that you are going to send out to potential customers or people that want to be kept in touch with your brand. They want to keep up with information for your brand. So if you've got a new subscriber to your email list, you can create a campaign for them where they are going to receive an initial email that talks about whatever it was that got them to sign up for that email. So let's say that you were handing out a free ebook. If they were to sign up for your email, then when they get that first email, they get that ebook for whatever topic that you were going to share with them. And then you'd have a campaign series of maybe 5 additional emails that they're going to receive. Maybe they're getting one every day for that first week. Maybe they're getting one once a week for a month. Maybe they get one once a week for a month, and then you send one once a month for the next 3 months. But the idea behind the initial email campaign for new subscribers is that it's very specifically targeted to new subscribers. Once they move past that initial campaign, whether it's a 3 email series or 6 email series, whatever that looks like, then they'll just go into your regular subscriber list. And if you're sending out a monthly newsletter, or if you have other campaigns that they feed into from that point, then that's when they would get to that level. But your initial campaign for new subscribers, consider templates that you can share with them, tips and tricks, any tools, helpful info. The idea is not to sell them on your services, not a hard sell on, hey, you need to buy from me, and then send them another email that says, hey, you need to buy from me. The idea is to sell them with the value that you can provide by providing that value through this email series, so that they want to learn more and they want to continue to keep getting your emails. Create a regular email schedule and stick to it. So if you are going to capture email addresses and you're going to use email marketing, make sure that you have some sort of consistency to your emailing, whether it's once a month, whether it's once a quarter, whether it's once a week. I've subscribed to lots of email addresses, and there's a lot of emails that I want to unsubscribe from, but I just can't bring myself to do it because I've occasionally gotten something of value from there. But they all are different. Some are daily. I get a daily email Some have a very specific schedule where on a specific time on a specific day every week I get an email. And then others are sending out emails more based on specific events or specific specials that they're running or things like that. So however you're going to do it, just make sure you have some sort of regular rhythm to your emailing and to the schedule that you're sending things out. And then don't worry about unsubscribes. It's kind of like when you're selling your services to someone and they tell you no, that's the second best answer to yes, because you know then that they're not interested. So when you are, you get people to subscribe to your email list, if someone unsubscribes, that's okay. It means they're not interested, but then they're not your market. So you don't have to worry so much about the unsubscribes. What you want to do is make sure that when you are providing content, that it's valuable content to those who are still a part of your list. And like I said, you're going to have lots of people that are going to, sign up for whatever the freebie is that you're giving them. They get on your email list and they may unsubscribe the very next day. That's okay, because you know that they're not your customer, they're not your market. But those few that stay, those are who you're selling to, and you want to make sure you're continuing to provide value to them throughout the process of your emailing. All right, so with all the focus on digital marketing these days, email marketing, social media, websites, so much of our marketing is done digitally and electronically. A lot of people want to discount non-digital marketing. And there still is a place for marketing that is not digital. Examples of non-digital marketing is going to be direct mail. Anymore you get more junk mail in your email box than you likely get in your mailbox. I very rarely get hardly any mail anymore because everything is electronic now. So direct mail has a place. You actually might stand out to your customer more because you are sending direct mail than you would if you were providing value via social media or sending them an email campaign. Direct mail still has a place, and it has a place in the right form and in the right type of service that you're providing. Trade shows are still very common and are the right place for the right product and service that you're providing. So think about if there's an industry trade show that makes sense for your company to be. If you feel like there is, sometimes you don't want to focus on your industry and a trade show specific to your industry, but where are the people that you're selling to going to be showing up? That's where you want to be. So think about trade shows and events, educational programs and events. So you might find that there are local events, depending on, again, the product or service that you sell. If there are local events that you can be a part of, you can sponsor, or you can sign up for a booth, or you can sign up to have a presence there. Depending on your market and who you're trying to sell to, if you've got these events where your customer is going to be, that might be a great way for you to get in front of them and for you to get noticed. And then networking, depending on the type of business that you are in or the type of service that you're selling, and really what's important is who you're selling to, networking still plays a valuable role in the sales and marketing process. Building relationships, building partnerships, depending on what you're selling. If you can not just go to a networking event to go to a networking event and get as many business cards as you can, but really build solid relationships and partnerships with potential referral partners, or those people that are going to be showing up at the same, they're selling to the same customer as you, but they're selling a different product or service. Those are the people you want to develop strong relationships with and partnerships with, because you may be able to have some cross-selling opportunities as you work together. So there's still a place for non-digital marketing, and it is something that you need to consider putting as a part of your marketing plan. All right, so I want to talk briefly about the sales process. The sales process is that process that you follow to essentially get a lead to a paying customer. So getting someone from just learning about your product and being an initial lead to actually closing the deal and getting them to buy your product or your service. As you are thinking about your sales process, depending on what you sell, what product or service that you sell, that's going to determine the length of that sales process and what that sales process looks like. So for example, if I have a boutique and I'm selling clothes online, my sales process, my sales timeline, my sales cycle, and my sales process are relatively short. I might have social media ads that I'm putting out there with various outfits that I've put together. Someone is scrolling through Facebook at night and they see an outfit they like, they click on it, they get to my website, they're on my website, they see the sizing that they like, they think the quality looks good, the price looks good, and they purchase, right? So it's a relatively short sales cycle, and the sales process is pretty simple, right? It's they click on an ad, they get to my website, they put it in their shopping cart, and they buy. On the other hand, if I'm selling large consulting projects, and these might be 6 to 12 month projects, they might be multi-million-dollar projects, I'm likely not going to get a customer to see an ad on social media, click on it, and then sign a multi-million-dollar contract within that 20-minute period that they were looking, right? I'm going to have a much longer process. I'm going to have more steps to the process. I'm probably going to have to meet with various people. I'm going to be providing written proposals. I'm going to be gathering estimates and quotes. I'm going to be determining the scope of the work. And so there's a lot longer sales process that goes into that than there is with a retail product that I'm going to sell because I went to a website and I put it in my shopping cart. So you need to design your sales process based on your product or service that you are selling. The first piece of the sales process should be your sales funnels. So this is how are you getting people to the top of your funnel? How are you getting people to know about your product? So in that retail example, I've got that social media advertisement that is going to drive them to my website. Okay. If I am selling these larger consulting projects, most likely I have people, boots on the ground, people out meeting with people, but I may also have kind of an educational platform on my website or something, some landing page they can go to read a white paper about the service that we provide. And so that might be the top of my sales funnel there, is that I'm providing this white paper. People click on it they give me their email address so that they can read this white paper on this technical aspect of the service that we provide. And then they are now into my email list and they're going to be getting my email campaigns. So that may be how I'm getting them initially into my sales funnel there. So again, depending on your business, your product, what you sell, is going to determine what the right sales funnel is for you for getting people in the door. And then you want to have follow-up. You want to have, depending on what you're selling, and that length of that sales cycle will depend on what that follow-up looks like. If I'm in that retail example and I clicked on the Facebook ad and I went to added the item to my shopping cart, but then I just didn't order. Either typically it's I don't have my credit card, so I can't finish the order, and so I move back to Facebook and I'm scrolling. Follow-up in that scenario would be you see that ad again, pop up on your Facebook feed the next day, and then maybe I got my credit card that day and I can buy it. Or sometimes, depending on how far you get in the sales process, they have your email address, and so they might send you a reminder via email that says, hey, you've still got something in your cart you never checked out. So that's an example of the sales follow-up and your sales process. So as you're designing your sales process, you want to think about your sales cycle and think about what does that follow-up look like. If I have this much longer sales cycle and I'm selling these much larger consulting projects or big dollar projects, then my sales follow-up is likely going to be a series of follow-ups. My first follow-up is, hey, let's schedule a meeting. We have an initial introductory meeting to learn about the project, and then I'm going to come up with a scope of work. And then when I come up with a scope of work, I'm going to present it to the potential client, and then they're going to come back with their adjustments to that scope, what they do need, what they don't need, what you did understand, what you misunderstood. And then you're going to go back and you're going to tweak the pricing, and then they're going to want you to present it to their boss. And so you may have this sales process that says, okay, step 1 is call, step 2 is scope of work, step 3 is revise scope of work, step 4 is meet and present scope of work. You're going to develop that sales process based on what your typical sales cycle looks like and what your typical what the buying process looks like for your client. So you want to make sure that you're setting up very consistent steps and processes, and you may end up skipping some of those steps because you may talk with a client and they already have a scope of work defined. They give it to you, you price it out, and you're in the final presentation phase. That's okay, but you've designed your process around what a typical process looks like. Then you need to make sure you have scheduled and consistent follow-up on your sales process. So especially for long sales cycles, you need to make sure that there is scheduled follow-up, there's tasks, there's reminders, and there's a regular interval for that follow-up so that you make sure that you don't let opportunities slip through the cracks. And then finally, closing the deal. So again, closing the deal on my retail example is hopefully they got to the shopping cart and they clicked the button and they gave you their credit card information. Closing the deal when you've got these longer, bigger projects is, just what can we do to make this deal work? Are we meeting your expectations? Are we providing you what you're looking for? Is the pricing right? Like what is it? What's holding you up from saying yes? And can we do anything about that? So making sure that you're getting it to that finish line. And the follow-up is key to this, making sure you're following up. Where are we at? Where are we at? How can I help you? What can I do to help get you there? But at the end of the day, it's, are we the right fit for what you're looking for? And if so, then let's do this and let's do business together. All right, so with Bootcamp LLC, which is our example company, we've decided that our brand is going to be fitness that's convenient and fun. So fitness for everyone. We are not designed for the fitness gurus or those people that are going to be running ultra marathons. We want to be the fitness for the average Joe that's looking to get healthy and they want to have fun. We've decided on green and white as our color scheme. We think that looks healthy and fresh and really speaks to our brand. We're going to use social media as our primary platform for selling and advertising. We think that's where we're going to get our name out the most, and then we're going to drive people to our website, which is where they will be able to buy and sign up for services. And then we're going to use HubSpot, which is our CRM that we've already discussed and implemented in the technology section. But we're going to be using this to bring people through our sales funnel. So when they go to the website and if they choose at the time not to purchase right away, they can be added into our sales funnel, which will take them to HubSpot, which will take them through their email campaigns to get them to the finish line, basically to communicate with them on a consistent basis on why they would benefit from joining our program, and then keeping them informed throughout our email newsletters that we'll send on a monthly basis. All right, so we are going to now do homework for week 6. So final week of homework. Complete your sales and marketing worksheet. You want to develop your brand, design your logo and your look and feel. You're going to set up your social sites, so decide which social sites you're going to use and get those set up, including your developing your plan for your social media. How are you going to present yourself on social media? What type of content are you going to provide? How often are you going to post? Get all of that plan in place for your social media. Get your website up and running. If you don't yet have one, you can set one up using one of the tools that we suggested in the technology section, or contract somebody to have them help you set that up. So it is valuable to pay for expertise in areas that you do not have that. You want to set up your initial email marketing campaign. So if you've got your CRM set up, then you can hopefully utilize that for your email marketing, or look at some other email marketing tools that might be available to you if your CRM does not have that functionality. And then design your sales process. Make sure you're putting in place the steps and the follow-up that you are going to need to get your potential customer from a lead to the finish line and getting them to close the deal and make a purchase. So sales process is very important to make sure you have that consistency and that follow-up to get them to the finish line. All right, congratulations. You have completed the Small Business Bootcamp. You've gotten through the initial 6 weeks of lots of small business information and should be well on your way to launching your first business or improving your business if you were already in existence before you started. We've shared a lot of information through these 6 weeks, and it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. So please go back and revisit as you need to, and as you have time to implement the various pieces, you can go back and revisit as many times as you need. We also have a lot of bonus content that will help you that dig deeper into specific topics. So as we had these sessions on sales and marketing and people and accounting, that's a lot of information to cover in a 1 weekly session. And so we have bonus sections that are out there that have more detailed information about specific topics. So take a look at those if you're looking for something specific. We're adding new all the time as well. So if you are looking for, specific instruction on anything, please feel free to reach out and provide feedback or requests for templates that you might be looking for, or more detailed lessons on anything. And those are things that we can continue to add. So thanks for joining me for these 6 weeks, and I wish you the best of luck with your business.